What is going on, guys? Can you hear me? Hopefully loud and clear. I turned up the mic. What's up, Mark, Maddie, Ghost, Danny, Sylvia, Lingapan, Regine, what's going on? Long time no see. Surf, what's going on, man?
The heart.
We are live in Seattle, and we are just seconds away now from March CPI data and weekly jobless claims. Take a look at the futures because we are in the red this morning after powering back yesterday. Dow off about 554 points. Rick Santelli is in Chicago this morning. He's standing by at the CME. Rick, the numbers, sir.
Yes, these are March reads on the Consumer Price Index coming in under minus 1/10 on headline. Minus 1/10. We're expecting the exact opposite. We're expecting up 1/10. Minus 1/10. Well, we equal where we were in May of 2020 to find a lower number. You're all the way to April of 2020, the heavy COVID-affected months of the calendar. If we take food and energy out, still coming in on the under, up 1/10. We're expecting triple that number, up 1/10. Well, that would equal where we were in June of last year. To find a lower number would be 0 in January of 21. These are definitely low numbers. Now, let's look at year-over-year perspective, shall we? Up 2.4, we're expecting 2.6. 2.4 would equal where we were in SEP of 24. You have to go to Feb of 21 to find a lower number. Now let's go year over year. X food and energy, expecting 3, comes in light, 2.8. That follows 3.1. 2.8 would be lowest since March of 21. These are really low numbers. Now let's look at initial and continuing claims, shall we? On the initial claims, we're looking for a number that would be roughly in the 224 camp, comes in at 223, very close to expectations. And if we look at the continuing claims, last month they reached 1.903 million, and once again they revised it away. 1,893,000 is last month, and the new number 1,850,000. That really is a nice drop. And if we want to comp, the last time we were at that level, well, it would be the last week of January when we were under 1.84. So that would be your comp. You could see yields haven't moved under in a dramatic way, but I will say there's a bit of irony here considering all the tariff stories on inflation. To see these numbers coming in light for March, well, it's somewhat enlightening. Now, let's go to Steve Leisman for some thoughts as he peruses some of these data points. Steve?
Yeah, Rick, thanks. I'm looking at here this core goods number, which the Fed had flagged as something that they were worried about, which was perhaps a pop that you saw in prior months because of front running on tariffs. That came back and was well behaved. If you look at the commodities, ex food and energy core goods, it resumed a negative downward move. Nice help on vehicle insurance was down 0.8%, at least on the month. It's up quite a bit. And you did not get, you went the other way on the owner's equivalent rent, 0.4, not as bad as it had been. You had some pop up in food prices, 1%, 1.3%, and you got an awful lot of help from energy this time around. The key here is going to be, well, this may be the calm before the storm, a lot like the employment numbers. Do you have higher inflation numbers coming through because of some of the tariffs that are out there? Real quickly on the tariffs, the market seems to think it got a lot of relief, and maybe it did. Maybe there's a change in stance of President Trump. But I'm reading a lot of the dismal scientists that say, you know what? There might have been a lot less there than you think. Average tariffs in the country are still very high, even after that relief, much higher than 10%. Wells Fargo just sent me a note. They say the average tariff in America is 27%. I'm seeing numbers 23, 22, and they're still predicting negative numbers on GDP and surges in inflation from the existing tariffs, unless they go away, Andrew, from negotiation. To you, Andrew.
Thank you, Steve. We got a guy who knows a lot about the consumer. We are in Seattle this morning at Amazon's campus in downtown Seattle. We have an exclusive interview with Amazon CEO Andy Jassy out with his annual letter today, and there's so much to talk to you.
All right, so inflation numbers came in much lower than expected. I think these are the best numbers since before the pandemic, or like the first month of the pandemic. So core PPI came in, hey, this is not even updated. Asshole. Let me see if I can find it. So year over year came in at 2.4%. One of the numbers came in, I think month over month came in at minus 0.1 versus an expectation of plus 0.1. So definitely some good inflation numbers here. I wonder if that is going to really persuade the Fed to cut, because the Fed was worried about cutting too soon due to inflation. But I think they're still likely going to cite, unless the bond yields go out of control again, I think they're likely going to cite unknowns from the tariff stuff. If you guys saw my video yesterday, obviously amazing that you have a 10% day in the S&P 500 and a 12% day in the NASDAQ, but typically those don't happen around healthy markets, right? The only times that has ever happened were the Great Depression, 1987 crash, 2008 financial crisis, pandemic, and now. So not really the most comfortable stat that you want to see, to be honest, but that's what we have to work with. I do think that the administration caved not because of stocks, but because of bonds. The 30-year went to 5%. So I was just checking bonds to see if we had a tapering off. The 10-year is down a couple basis points, which is good. The 30-year is down from 5 to like 4.75. But it needs to come down even further, to be honest. What is your advice for people that bought the tweet and now few percentage up? If you're asking that, you don't want to hear my advice, because it's going to be honest. My advice is you probably have no place in the market. That's my advice. The reason I say that is because it clearly sounds like you don't know whether you're investing or trading. And that's the problem, is that anyone can open a brokerage account and just start clicking. And that's clearly what you were doing. And you're not going to last in the market, right? So either you learn how to trade, which takes years and is an actual discipline, just like playing golf, just like becoming a doctor. It's that hard. Or you're an investor. Sounds like you just clicked a few buttons and got lucky and don't know what to do. So if that's you, I would say that if you're not a long-term investor, you have no place in the market. And if you don't want to learn how to trade. So take your money and go enjoy yourself. Otherwise, start learning how to trade and or start thinking about long-term, especially if you're young. You're welcome. Yes, the CPI has been published, and you can easily use Google or ChatGPT. I'm not going to keep going over the numbers every time a new person signs in asking if CPI has been released. I think there's a short here. I wish we had divergence, though. No change in the market? What does that mean? The market's down 2%. I would say that's a pretty good change. Ten minutes in, he doesn't want to talk about CPI. Why even do this? Because I'm doing this to try and trade, not to feed your laziness when you can just look something up that was already released. We went over the CPI numbers, came in better than expected. And that's it. How many times do you want me to go over the CPI numbers? Now it's time to trade. So if you really want to know CPI, you can use Google on the computer that your parents bought you. Or watch as I try and find a trade. Your choice. Let's see. NQ took data high, ES didn't. That's the SMT right there. It was actually my grandma that bought my computer. God bless her. Appreciate you, BM. Will we ever get a time when the world's not interested in U.S. debt? That's a good question. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but I think yeah. I mean, if you read Ray Dalio, he certainly thinks so, right? The program I'm using is TradingView. All right, I think there might be a short to London low. How big is this range? My God, we're talking about 100 points again. I think there's a short here. I would much rather close below this, but I think you can front run a short here. What is? This is such a big range. But I think we can get to London low. If we close below this. I want to get down there. Hell yeah. Up 700, guys. I want to set my stop to break even. Book it if you want. I want to see if we can get down there. My stop's at break even. I gotta check ES real quick. ES is trying to hamstring this whole operation here. There is slight SMT here, but I want to see us get down to London low. Book it if you want. 700 is nice. Hell yeah. Up 1,000, guys. All right, I'm going to book 1,200 here. I'm going to book 1,200 here. First one of the day. I see SMT at the lows. I still think it gets to London low, but I don't want it to retrace back up and break me even. I'll find another play. 1,200 is great. Easy work. So whoever that clown was that was asking 10 minutes into CPI, you don't want to talk about CPI. Bro, I'm trying to trade. At the end of the day, I'm not here to break news that's already been broken. How many of you guys took that? Put a W in the chat. Oh, there's 1,200 of you here. Guys, there's 1,200 of you here. I just gave you a $1,200 play for the 1,200 people that are here. And there's only 142 likes? Guess you don't want anyone to find the stream. This is criminal. If you guys want another play, leave a thumbs up. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you the play in a second. So what I was looking at was, you see that data high, 830, that was CPI, right? Excuse me. You could see that ES didn't take it, right? Leaving a lower high. Look at NQ. This is free game right here. NQ took that data high. So that higher high and that lower high is bearish divergence, right? Then we had a close below this, which is an aggressive entry if you entered the close below this fair value gap. I didn't. And we were down here and we retested this fair value gap. On the right is NQ, by the way. On the left is ES. And I was trading NQ. We retested this gap here at 830. This is 830 open. So that SMT gave me the bearish scenario. The retest of 830 in this fair value gap gave me the trade. And I took the trade from here and wrote it down to somewhere here. 1,200 per contract, easy win. 60 points. Yeah, 60 points. And that's it. SMT is just a fancy way of saying divergence. So when correlated indices, in this case NQ and ES, they're correlated. One makes a higher high, the other makes a lower high, that's bearish. If one makes a lower low and the other one makes a higher low, that's bullish, right? And you look for these imbalances in corroboration with the rest of your confluences in order to formulate your trade entries. These days, I'll be 100% honest, I don't trade futures anymore if there isn't SMT divergence. Just because of how violent things have become, I need that divergence in order to enter trades. It's for someone that doesn't trade futures a lot, it's going to be hard to explain why that is, but trust me, because it is so volatile, if you don't have all of the confluences that you need to enter a trade and you're wrong on a trade, the dollar amount for the loss can be a lot more than in regular environments because the ranges are so big. Like even this tiny range here, this tiny range was 60 points that I traded. And the full extent of the move was, if we got to London low, was 100 points. Like this tiny range here is 100 points. Before the tariff stuff, you know, you'd be lucky if NQ moves 100 points the entire day. And now we're getting these very small ranges. Yesterday, we were talking about 1,000-point moves, right? So it's definitely an environment where you have to be a lot more diligent, I would say. So ever since the tariff stuff, I will not take a trade if SMT is not there. I hope that explains things. If you have any other questions, let me know. Give it another thumbs up for the replay. I got to thank some people here. David Morgan, appreciate your donation to St. Jude. MP3 Fitness, thank you so much for your donation. Both of them donated $20. Amazing. Someone else donated. Frederick, what's going on, bro? 20 pounds, St. Jude's. Jeffrey Pratt, $20 to St. Jude's. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Fire stuff. Thank you. It's surprising to me that such a divergence matters because ES and NQ are largely just different weightings of the same companies. No, the S&P 500 has 507 companies. The NASDAQ has 100 companies. So NASDAQ is a subset of S&P with much stronger weighting towards tech. But they're not just different weightings of the same companies. No, there are many more companies in the S&P. So that is why one usually will give the signal. There's a long here, I think, by the way. One will usually give a signal before the other. Shay, appreciate your donation, man. Thank you. Or woman, sorry. Shay can go either way. In SMT, how you determine which one's weaker? This is a good question. I don't think you'll ever really know because what happens on these 1 minute time frames is SMT will flip-flop, right? You'll get ES looking weaker, and then all of a sudden you'll enter an ES short, and then NQ will dump harder. So you're never going to get it 100%, to be honest. In my view, I'm much more partial to NQ because the moves are bigger. The only time not the only time, but most of the time if I trade ES, it's only because the NQ range is too big for me to manage my risk for that specific trade, right? Like if I'm looking at that trade and if I traded NQ, it looks lopsided. My risk to reward looks lopsided, then I'll go with ES. Otherwise, I'll go with NQ most of the time because it generates more money for a similar move, if that makes sense. But that's a great question. Also, I love that your name is Kunal Indian ASMR. I don't even know what your channel is about, but it sounds interesting. Hopefully you're not eating paratas and doing ASMR that way. Hopefully you're like reading an Indian story and doing ASMR. Is it possible to do some custom script to determine the divergence? Yeah, of course. I think some people, do that. But honestly, it's something that you can spot so easily. Something you can spot so easily where you don't need a script. SMTs between NQ and ES, if we're talking about the indices, yes. However, when we're talking about, and I don't trade Forex, so if you're talking about Forex, there are pairs that are more correlated, right? But in the indices, yes, mainly you're talking about NQ and ES. It's a sea of red again. Bro, we were up 10% and 12% yesterday. It's fine. We're down 2%. Also, if you watched my video, I told you that typically happens at the worst of times. Like, this is not a healthy market. So I'm sure that a lot of people FOMO'd at the highs yesterday because they're like, oh my God, I missed it. I should have bought at the lows. Right? And we had an epic short squeeze. See, we have divergence here once again. This is likely going to create divergence once again. But I'm not going to short this here. I'm going to wait until the market opens. Already made a good chunk of money here. And that was in my real money Think or Swim account. I still have yet to trade my prop accounts. You were looking for a short or a long? I went short, and then I said this is a long here, but I'm not in a trade right now. I closed out the short. Thank God. I closed it out before. See, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. I think we are going to get down to London low, but we're going to retrace a lot higher and pick up more liquidity before coming down. So I'm glad I didn't stubbornly hold that. Take your winnings yesterday and put them in something tangible like drugs or alcohol? Bro. Like, comedy is for some people. It's not for everybody. That's okay. You'll find something else. Let's take a look at the bond yields, and then I want to jump to some stock charts real quick. See if there are any setups for when the market opens that I'm looking to trade. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good. Wesley Wong, W name. First of all, congrats on the amazing name. Your parents did well. First time commenting, but I took your advice and nibble at key levels. You single-handedly made me 25% yesterday. Appreciate you, Wesley Wong. Bro, that's a dope-ass name. I bet you can move to Hong Kong and be a movie star with that name. But you're welcome. And I'm glad somebody was listening. Bro wearing shades indoors. Imagine that you were such a fucking loser that that's all you have to comment on. Like, you don't know how to trade. You don't know how to open up a chart. You don't want to learn anything. So that's what you have to comment on. Bro, one, these are actually blue light lenses that have a darker tint. And I'm sitting in front of two extremely bright lights, and it's 5 in the morning here. So, yeah. I'm trying to age gracefully. I don't want to age like milk, like your mom. So I'm trying to take care of myself. All right, we're hitting that 830 level again. So one thing I was saying, guys, the bond yields right here, this is not good. The bond yields, we've hit 4.8%. We dropped to a low of 4.6, back up. And remember, there's a bond auction today. The 30-year bond auction is today at 1. This is going to be so big, guys. If this 30-year doesn't get bought up in this auction and we have a weak auction, and the 30-year gets to 5% again, I think it's a one-way ticket to recession town. Honestly, this is what I was saying the last few days is that if the Fed has never engineered a soft landing, right, with all the tools that they have, if the Fed has never engineered a soft landing, it takes so much hubris for Trump, Besant, Lutnick, Navarro, for those guys to think that somehow they are going to fuck around with trying to bring down yields and not break something, right? Now yields have gone haywire, and I think that it's not going to stop. They're going to get the recession one way or another. I think the hope was to avoid that and somehow bring down yields, which it was working, right? Up until April 7th, which was what, Monday? Man, the day seems so long in the markets. Up until April 7th, it was working. And it looked like we were on track to get yields back down to where they were when the Fed started cutting last September. And then the yields just shot back up. And that's when, right here, is when Trump caved, right? But if yields continue to go up, and if this 30-year bond does not get bought up, this yield is gonna keep rocketing up. And if we hit that 5 again, that is not great. One thing it might do is it might force the Fed to cut in May, on May 7th. Now, if GDP comes out negative April 30th, then the Fed can use that as an excuse to cut. But they're not going to cut just because the administration wants them to. We did get really good inflation numbers earlier today at 8:30. So, where's this? CPIinvesting.com. I like this site. So the forecast for CPI was 2.5, came in at 2.4. For month over month, the forecast was 0.1, came in at minus 0.1. So definitely the most favorable CPI numbers that we've had since the pandemic, honestly, the beginning of the pandemic. So at least there's that. But for some reason, bond yields are not tanking on this news. It's supposed to be good news that drops bond yields, but I think there is definitely some insider selling from China and maybe Japan. Which is why the dollar's dropping as well. But anyway, let's take a look at some equities here. Market opens in 20 minutes, 22 minutes. So I want to see if there are some setups here that might pose some good opportunities for when the market opens. For those of you that just joined, already booked a $1,200 win on an NQ short after CPI. Appreciate you, BT. Thank you. And Anthony Nguyen, thank you too. Yeah, the bond market is way bigger than the stock market. So right now, Tesla closed yesterday 272, trading pre-market at around 263. The thing is, as I told you guys, even before the whole tariff thing, this range that Tesla's in, it's very normal for Tesla to do this. And it usually tends to break out of these ranges in May, but it has these extremely ugly ranges, right? Here's 2023 before finally breaking out. You look here, this was last year, 2024, right? Before finally breaking out in May. And this is the same thing that it's doing now. Unfortunately, this is also a very ugly head and shoulders here. We now have a confirmed, not a confirmed, but we do have a head and shoulders. It will confirm if we break below the neckline. But that is unfortunate. And the pump yesterday was nice, but it just pumped in the same range. There's nothing different here. Now, if you bought it at 220 when I made the video for you guys telling you what level I was buying Tesla, yeah, you made out with a pretty penny, $50 per share yesterday, which is great. I mean, on 100 shares, that's $5,000, right? But I don't think Tesla's going to break out of this until at least May. So in terms of day trading, I'm not really looking for, unfortunately, this pattern here, right, does set up for a retracement to take some liquidity from the pump yesterday. So there may be a short on deck. There may be a short on deck on Tesla. I would much rather want to see it when we open. What I like to see is I want to see it manipulate up, take the pre-market high, maybe fill this gap, and then see if there's a move back down. A lot of stocks have the same pattern. This is Google, same exact gap, similar pre-market high. Apple traded at closed at 190, almost 199 yesterday. Trading now at 189. I'm not surprised. Apple is the one that has the most exposure to China, and China tariffs went up, not down. So this one is going to be heavily affected, and I still think that we can get a better deal on Apple long term. I do think that it can drop below 160 at some point. What I would love on Apple is when it opens, I would love to see a retest. Like if it starts trading like this and then retest the opening print, and I might take it down to this area of consolidation here in the 170s. So I would love to see it do this back up to 930 opening print and then a potential short. Amazon also has indecent exposure. Amazon also has disproportionate exposure to China. Indecent exposure. Wasn't that a movie from like the 80s? Be interesting to see how it opens. The thing about Amazon is it is extremely cheap compared to where it trades historically. And I'm talking about looking back 10 years, right? Like Amazon has never been this cheap when looking at price to cash flow. So it is generating the most cash flow in history relative to its stock price. But it does make a lot of its money through retail, and that retail does do a lot of business in China. So Yeah, there might be a multi-day short on Amazon, to be honest. I'm glad I sold quite a few calls on my stocks yesterday, but the daily chart doesn't look like there's a short setup, to be honest, on Amazon. But unfortunately, Tesla does not look good here. Meta at the 300 MA was a fantastic pickup. This company at the 300 MA, I didn't realize that it went to 485. Oh man, I would have picked up more below 500. Yeah, but Meta, like Google, is almost 100% software company. Very, very little exposure to China. In terms of PE, trading very cheap relative to itself historically. And it doesn't have, it's not seen as just a spender on AI, right? It is a beneficiary of AI. Yeah, very curious about Tesla at the open. I'm going to be monitoring this one for sure. Tesla and Apple, I think, might have some big moves today. I do think you'll have a chance to get Nvidia below 100 again. I don't think Nvidia stays up here. I think the breakdown in semis has been catastrophic. I did draw this chart in the Discord on the weekly, and it is pretty amazing that this trend on the semiconductor ETF, this is a 10-year trend. Look at how exact it is. And we hit that line to the T. And that's where we bounced from. Let us know the play for today on Tesla. I mean, if I take it here, yeah. If I take it later, it'll be on the Discord. All right. Let's see what the indices are doing after our fantastic short earlier. Doing a whole lot of nothing is what it's doing. So 12 months from now, SMH is up or down. Bro, don't try to use me as your oracle so that you can enter an options play. What do I look like, Miss Cleo? This is a good long here, I think. What level did I short? Rewind the tape. I explained the entire thing. I went over the whole trade for you. I broke it down. So if you rewind it a little bit, you'll see it. Miss Cleo's dead? I didn't know that. R.I.P. These moves are not bad, to be honest. The short look good. The long look good. I'm going to wait until market opens before potentially taking another play on the indices. I want to see what I want to see now is I want to see a major area of liquidity get breached, i.e. London high or London low. I want to see which one gets taken first and then try to take a counter trade. What about AMD? Did you buy some AMD? No, I'm not. I don't. You can't buy every stock. And as far as chips go, I'm not yet a believer in AMD in terms of what their market share is. I think they've done well in the CPU market share, but the CPU market share is tiny compared to the GPU market share, or the GPU market, sorry. So if I'm going to invest in chips, I want to invest in GPUs and companies that have GPU exposure. I wonder if this divergence does anything here. Trading in this environment has been awesome. Yeah. AMD sells GPUs. Yes, no shit. I didn't say they don't sell GPUs. I said their market share in the GPU sector is very low. And they have to be commended for their ability to take over the CPU market share. INTC Leaps. Imagine trying to buy Leaps in this environment after yesterday. Bonds are tanking. Are you talking about yields or prices? What's the tanking? I don't see bonds doing anything. All right. I'm going to wait until market open to get that volatility out of the way and see which way the market wants to manipulate. Market opens in 6 minutes. 6 minutes. 6 minutes, doggy dog, your own. Why would it be a bad idea to get leaps? Just watch my video from yesterday, bro. You want to buy leaps on the most expensive day in 2025? You don't think leaps are the most expensive day after a 12% leap in the NASDAQ, which is the second best day of all time? That's when you want to buy leaps and not before? Like, be realistic, dog. It's up to you. It's your money, obviously. I don't care at the end of the day. But I do care to try and influence you to make more sound decisions than the market pumped 12%. Let me throw my money into leaps now. But it's your money, bro. Up to you. Oh, that SMT doesn't exist. It's 6 minutes, Dougie Fresh, you're on. Yes, but if you are a hip hop fan, you'll know that Snoop made a remake of that song. Where he said 6 minutes, doggy dog, your own. I think it was on his second album, which actually was pretty trash compared to Doggy Style, but last week was the time to get in leaps? Yeah, exactly. Not after a 12% pump. Well, I bet you we are at the golden pocket. And that's why we were reacting from here. Passed my first eval. Hell yeah. Good job, Jason. Oscar Hedlund. Sverige. What's going on, Oscar? What a crazy reaction from the golden pocket here. Oh, we did have SMT, you mother. ES made a higher high. NQ made a lower high. Very nice. Now this is going to likely go to London low. See, when I was in the short earlier, thank God I took profits, but I was afraid that we'd come up for more liquidity before coming back down. But this right here is London low, and I think one of them takes out London low. I think so. Tanking 10%, calling it. My God, bro. Some people should be barred from brokerage accounts. Do you have a promotion on Apex Prop Account? Yeah, use code TTT. I don't know what it is now. 80% or 50% or 70%. It'll give you some percentage off. Watch my video from yesterday. If you're asking, do I think the market is going to tank after yesterday? I said these moves don't happen during healthy markets, and only one time in history has it marked the bottom. Look. If you look at this, these are the best days ever in the S&P 500. One day, March 24th, 2020, was the bottom. That's it. Every other day, except for obviously on here we have yesterday, but every other day besides yesterday, we made new lows. So, and this right here, Great Depression, 2008, Great Depression, COVID, 1987, and the rest of them are Great Depression. So this type of shit does not happen in healthy markets. So yes, it's very, very likely, especially if bond yields don't dissipate, it's very likely that the market continues down. KMA 588. I agree. I'm going to get some more coffee and then we'll find another trade. Un momento. Slow your tempo. 1 second. All right. Back at it again. So London Low's about to get tagged. That would have been a nice trade. Oh, NQ is diverging here quite a bit. Wow. Your chair needs some oiling, just like your mom's joints. This is crazy. What software is this? TradingView. Yeah, this volatility is wild, guys. Ark, what's up, bro? Appreciate your donation. why is the market down? Imagine asking why is the market down after a 10% day. People wild and yo. There is not a green stock in sight, is there? Yeah, you don't want to trade this here. Wait 30 minutes for this to level out and then what? Thinkorswim is tripping. This is not right. Thinkorswim hasn't yet updated their... Okay, there it goes. Now it went all red. It was all green, and I'm like, what? Only Walmart, Costco, just a few consumer staples. Which I picked up some consumer staples. I picked up the consumer staples ETF. That tends to do pretty okay during recessions. Everything else is red. Healthcare is green too. So we picked up healthcare and consumer staples. XLV is the healthcare ETF. Consumer staples is XLP. But those tend to do okay during recessions. Like, not as bad as the rest of the market because they're seen as, I don't know, defensive. Okay. Let's see what's happening here. Palantir is up? No, it's down 3%. What are you looking at? Costco's green. Yes, I said consumer staples are green. Which market do you think is the best for day trading? I like day trading futures. Tesla took out pre-market low, surprisingly. I wonder if there's a long here. This right here is the opening print. Not longing it now, but like I said, wait 30 minutes for it to establish an opening range. And then you can trade an opening range breakout. You don't want to trade in this kind of mess here. This up and down, seek and destroy kind of mess. Yeah, NASDAQ is going ham. I'm so glad we got our trade in at 8:30 before the market opened. I wonder if there's a long on the 10-year. Do you have videos where you set up your trading view charts? I don't use any indicators. So just get trading view and remove everything. And that's how my chart looks. Fuck, that would have been so nice. I think the 10-year might be a multi-day long. I might look at that later. Platinum looks like a long. This is on deck for later, for sure, for sure. I'm going to put this in the Discord real quick. That one I'm going to set an alert for sure. I don't want to miss that one. Man, Platinum makes big moves overnight. It's one of my favorite metals to trade because once it hits an imbalance, it's almost like there's no rhyme or reason for the moves thereafter. It will just continue to go up until the last imbalance. Do you pay taxes? Bro, I live in the US. You can't avoid that shit. All right. So we finally got to London low. ES took it, NQ didn't. If this stays, this is going to set up a long. I doubt it will, though. I think NQ takes London, too. Okay, there we go. We just took London. Man, there's a whole heap of... This is going to be a scary drop. If we drop past this breaker on an NQ, if we drop past 18,357.25, it's Shitsville very quick. We go back to Shitsville very quick. That right there needs to hold up. Otherwise, I think, not today, but I think over the coming days. Futures and indices. Futures are on indices. Guys, you know that you could type stuff into Grok or ChatGPT. You know that, right? Like any question that you ever wanted. Which has more volatility, futures or Forex? And it will give you the most detailed response ever. Like any of these basic questions, just instead of typing it in the chat box, type it into ChatGPT and start doing some learning. NQ and ES. Why did you switch to the red glasses? Because your mom likes them better. She texted me and said, I like when you wear the red glasses. Please put them on. Don't tell my son I'm texting you. All right. We took out London low. Let's see if this sets up a play here. I think this is just a continuation short. Back down to, oh my God. Are we going to get to yesterday PM low? No. We took out London. PM lows right there. Which is also the same level as AM high. Wow. From a few days ago. We better not get down there, bro. This is just a scalping day here so far. Cuz we keep flipping divergences back and forth. We're about to flip divergence once again. Google flat on the day. This is very nice. This is, as I said, this is my favorite stock in the Mag 7. Some of these stocks look like they might be recovering, to be honest. Individually. I know the indices are down 2%, but okay. Let me see something here. Trading sideways, yeah, there is there is a bit of sideways trading. But what I want to see is I want to see which way Tesla breaks in this case. We did take pre-market low. I want to see which way Tesla breaks, right? Like, do we get a break out of this range and a retest? Or break out of this range and a retest? If you're trading the indices, you have to be very diligent about your stops, and it's a scalping day for sure. This right here, this is going to kill your account if you try to stay in trades too long. Thank God we got our trade back here. before the market even opened. Interesting that the VIX also hasn't subsided. VIX is still above 35, guys. This is not a calm market. What do you see that makes you say that will kill your account? Have you traded NQ futures before? Also, have you traded options? If you're trading options here, every options trader knows that this is the worst thing for options. When you don't make a real move, a real directional move, that kills your premiums. If you're trading futures and you're in a trade, this type of action takes out your stops on both sides. Whether you're long or short, it takes out your stops on both sides, right? So if you're not scalping here, this move pre-market was nice, right? This is the move that I traded pre-market. You can rewind the stream. This right here, you cannot trade a broad move. Your stop is gonna get hit whether you're in a broad long or a broad short. So unless you're a really good scalper, which if you are, awesome, this is gonna kill your account because it's gonna go stop, 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 stop. Killing premium is good for option sellers. Missing the point, dog. We're talking about day trading. Yes, 950 macro. We're testing. Tesla's testing that 930 open. It might want to flush here. Might want to flush here, ladies and gents. That right there, that's a 930 open. It's a very important level. I want to see which way Tesla breaks here. There is definitely a lot of liquidity here for Tesla to come down and seek. Flash down? What does that even mean, bro? What is a flash down? Sounds like something you get arrested for. Sasha, I agree with you. Yeah, this is not an environment to day trade the indices. Thank God we got our trade in. This is Chop City here. So what I'm going to look for now is to see if there are any obvious plays. Bro, I promise you I have no idea what you mean flash down or up. What is flash up and flash down? Like a wick? How can I predict a wick? Palantir put, it would look nice, but right now Palantir is ranging, and I would rather break out and retest. Otherwise, Palantir is right now a relatively strong name. Okay. We're breaking out of that range on Tesla. I think the indices maybe break here. Yeah, my advice to you guys, you know, especially if you traded NQ with me this morning, don't touch the indices right now. Don't lose your gains. Right now is capital preservation day. I think there is a nice multi-day long on platinum off of this level here, that 925 level. But for those of you that missed buying stocks, I think you're going to get them cheaper soon. That's for sure. Let's see what we have on the docket. Yeah, so 1 o'clock. Oh, we have a bunch of Fed clowns speaking, and then 1 o'clock we have the 30-year bond auction. That's going to be big, guys. That's going to be big. Is there any reason for such a drop? Was there any reason for a 10% pump? Why does it have to keep going up? But if you watched my video yesterday, in all honesty, you wouldn't be asking that. This is going to be crazy for at least 2 months. I don't disagree. I do not disagree, my friend. All right, so we have the 30-minute opening range already. It's essentially this. If we retest this level on Tesla up here, this 256.64-ish level, I will likely buy weekly at the money puts. I'll probably buy the 250 puts weekly. How many years did it take to learn how to trade? I'd say it took 3 years to be an inconsistently profitable trader. And then another 2-3 years to be profitable, but not precise. And then maybe another couple years to be consistently profitable. Do you have a finance accounting background? Yes. Not accounting, finance. I went to school for finance. But I didn't really work in finance after my first job. I didn't like it. So I moved to tech. But yeah, they don't teach you how to trade in finance school. But surely making connections between bonds, the dollar, gold, macro econ, supply demand, supply side economics, etc. Like this stuff, yeah, I think it's easier to understand if you have a finance background, but they don't teach you how to trade. That's for sure. Yeah, I wonder if there's a short here on Tesla. Oh man, the options are super expensive. Obviously, because of the drop, I would say, I don't know, whatever your guys' budget is, but options are mad expensive here. Oops, not a long. This is what I'm looking at on Tesla here. That 250 level. No, what? Actually, it would be great if we get to that 246. But this all depends on whether the markets recover here or not, which I don't think so. All right. So up 13%, 14. Wow. I want to write it down to that level there. I could take these off for a quick $600 here, but I want to see if this flushes further to at least the middle of the 4-hour fair value gap. If the indices start recovering, then I'll just close this, but I don't think that I don't really I think it's still gonna chop around up and down, but I don't have faith in indices recovering here, especially after the 950 macro. We didn't get any sign of a reversal. So I'll probably be out at 251. Yeah, I would like to see this flush. Still stuck at around 500 profit. 600. %17%. All right, I'm booking 17%. Fuck that. All good. It's a quick 700 there. All right. Nice trade on Tesla. Nice trade on Tesla. Someone was asking me earlier about how long it takes you to learn how to trade. The technicals seems like the most difficult part, but it isn't. It's really the risk management. I think where people get caught up is they enter a trade and then they don't know what to do. And that lasts for a long time if you don't check it. And I think that's the downfall of most traders. And that's where they're most likely to quit, right? Is they just enter a trade. They don't know what to do. They bag hold it. Say they're trading options. For one, they definitely don't understand how options work. Just like the other guy was asking me, I'm going to buy leaps today, right? And it's not a knock on you, dude, just using you as an example. But if you're buying stuff, you don't know why, and you're buying it randomly, and then the position is down, and then now you're down on yourself, and you're like, what do I do now? I always lose. It's because you're just doing things randomly, right? Like trading is a profession. It's a sport. You have to practice thousands of hours. And then you got to dial in your risk management. Like I have to be okay with cutting positions. I have to be okay with cutting risk. I have to be okay with when an A+ trade is staring me at the face, letting it ride. I have to be aware of position sizing, right? I have to be aware of all these things. And it's just very hard to get to that place because most people don't know what it takes to get to that place. So they end up doing a lot of damage and then quitting. But yeah. I think if you don't have experience with accounting or finance, then you are easily handicapped. Not true at all. Some of the worst traders I know were people I went to school with. Not true at all. And some of the best traders I know didn't even think that trading would be in their bingo card. That is not true at all. Actually, I know a guy who runs a big fund and is successful. He's on the institutional side. He's a horrible trader. Terrible trader. Not true at all. Trading is much more about spotting a setup and then managing risk around that setup while not getting butthurt about yourself. That's all it is. Not true at all. Now, if you're saying it helps to read macro or like do the videos that I do, right? If it helps to have a finance background, yeah, of course, it helps to have a finance background, right? Like when I listen to the Treasury talk, or when I listen to the Fed talk, or when I am watching the bond auctions, right? Or when I look at what's going on with China and Japan selling treasuries, like it is easier to make those connections as to what are the implications of those things. A lot easier if you have a finance background. But for sure, no. Finance background does not make you a good trader. And I don't think that it helps or hurts if you have one or don't. All right. I still think that there's a flush potentially coming for Tesla off this level. I think there's a bigger move coming. I might re-enter it later. But right now, just looking at, I'm looking at the indices and monitoring how the indices are stalling, even during times when we typically see algorithmic movement. I'm okay with the pre-market win. Nice $1,200 win on NQ, $700 on Tesla. Good enough for me. Hopefully I helped you guys learn a thing or two. I mean, we did a little bit of futures trading, a little bit of options trading. I truly believe that what we do, at least in the Discord, is the most versatile. You'll find some Discords that only stick to options and they have mild success. Some only stick to futures and they might be good. But, you know, we do everything. Macro, investing, option selling, options trading, futures day trading. So yeah, if you want to trade live with me every day, come join us. Otherwise, I appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you especially to those that donated to St. Jude's. And thank you for keeping this entertaining. If you're in the Discord, I'll see you in a few minutes. If not, I'll see you on the next video or whatever. But hopefully you guys have a good day. Peace.